Hello, and welcome to the summer worship service at the First Unitarian Society in Ithaca, a community that reaches for connection every day, in every way. A community that digs deep for inspiration in uncertain times and strives to engage with the world as at once filled by the long light of summer, the ongoing threat of illness, and the darkness of pervasive injustice. My name is David Solomon. Thank you so much for joining us. A special welcome this morning to the Ithaca community, members of congregations outside of Ithaca, and anyone who is joining us for the first time today. A special hello to those from the UU Church in Binghamton who are with us this morning. Welcome one, welcome all. Please be sure to check your email, First Unitarian's Facebook page, and our website for more information about how to create connections amidst this experience of physical distancing. If you'd like to receive weekly updates describing opportunities for engagement, please email a request to office@uuithaca.org. That's office@uuithaca.org. Our service this morning has been pre-recorded, but our speaker, John Gaines, and I will be joining coffee hour after the broadcast on Sunday, so you can share your reflection on his themes. We look forward to seeing and hearing from you. At that time, you will also have the opportunity to share any joys and sorrows. I do have one sorrow to pass along now. Longtime First Unitarian member, Keith Lambert, passed away on July 5th at the age of 97. I want to take a moment now to introduce our guests this morning. Our special music today is provided by Jack Zinda. Jack has been attending FUSIT since moving to Ithaca in 2016. He works in Cornell's Department of Global Development, where he studies and teaches about social and environmental change in rural China and management in upstate New York. And he hopes to start taking guitar lessons once his kids are a little bigger. Our speaker today is John Gaines. John and his wife, Pat, joined First Unitarian in the late 1970s. Since that time, John has been active in a variety of society functions. He currently coordinates the hospitality teams and facilitates a small group. Whew, that was a lot of information there. Let's take a moment to recenter. I invite you to breathe in and breathe out with me. Breathe in. Breathe out. Our opening words today come from UU Minister Marnie Harmony. We whose journeys are always beginning, we whose mission always awaits us, we whose visions are bent on loving, we gather together here. We gather as a community drawn together out of common need, each one toting our own carpet bag of treasures and dreams. We gather together seeking meaning, yearning to understand life in all its dimensions, as it challenges and expands, as it burdens, as it consoles and heals. We gather together with questions, the kinds of questions that provoke us to the path of action. We gather with hope, the kind of hope that pulses on through uncertainty. Let's light a chalice to gather us together here in this virtual sanctuary of ours. The flaming chalice is the symbol of mystics and heretics, artists and activists, reformers and refugees, and Unitarian Universalists everywhere. You can join me if you know the words, reciting the chalice lighting words. We light this chalice with the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action. Now let's sing together hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving.
Good morning. Our meditation this morning is by Wendell Berry from his book, The Unforeseen Wilderness, Kentucky's Red River Gorge. The world cannot be discovered by a journey of miles, no matter how long, but only by a spiritual journey, a journey of 1 inch, very arduous and humbling and joyful, by which we arrive at the ground at our own feet and learn to be at home. Please close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. Breathe out. Amen. So be it.
Each week, we take an offering to sustain the important ministries and programs of this congregation and its presence in Ithaca. May these gifts bring about connection, inspiration, and engagement within these walls and beyond.
The reading this morning are actually song lyrics from a song called I'm Gonna Walk It With You by Brian Claflin and Ellie Grace. And I'll be kind to you this morning by not singing it. I will be reading the lyrics. Well, it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm gonna walk it with you. And I know that you might have a heavy load, but I can also carry some too. I will lift you up when they push you down. I will raise my voice and stand my ground. Well, it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm gonna walk it with you. And it looks like it might be a long night, but I ain't going nowhere. And I know it's gonna be a hard fight, but I will stay right here. I will shine a light in the darkest hour. I will face the man in the tallest tower. Well, it looks like it might be a long night, but I ain't going nowhere. I will work, I will fight, I will stride in the name of love. I will speak, I will shout, I will sing to the skies above. Well, it looks like it might be a perilous climb, but I will follow your lead. And I know it might be a long time until the last one of us is free. But I will hold on tight, stay by your side. I will be the one with you through this whole damn ride. Well, it looks like it might be a perilous climb, but I will follow your lead. Well, it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm going to walk it with you. And you know you might have a heavy load, but I can carry some too. I will lift you up when they push you down. I will raise my voice and stand my ground. Well, it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm going to walk it with you. I'm going to walk it with you. I'm going to walk it with you. I will walk, I will climb, shine the light the whole night through, because it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm going to walk it with you. It's a pleasure to be here this morning to give you a brief homily. Back in March, some of you may remember March, it seems like so long ago, Journeys was the Soul Matters theme for the month. I found it very meaningful, so when the summer services planning team was considering a theme, I supported picking Journeys. Shortly after our small group ministry discussed Journeys, I attended calling hours for a man that I had worked with decades before, a man from a very different background and with very different life experiences from mine. Some of you no doubt knew Surinder Sidhu, perhaps from Annabelle Taylor Hall, TC3, Mandala, or the Farmer's Market. As I stood in a long receiving line, I thought about what I might say to his widow, Debbie, a woman I barely knew. The concept of personal shared journey came to mind, and that's what we talked about. And it was that conversation at the Lansing Funeral Home that gave me the first glimpse at what I might say here today. So let's start there. As a bit of background, you may know that from 1980 to 2008, I was in charge of Good Hope Youth Home, a nonprofit that provided juvenile detention services. We had two group homes, one in Cortland and one in Trumansburg. Over the course of those 28 years, over 4,000 children came into my care and responsibility. In addition, over 500 people at one time or another served on our staff. That's where the 4,500 comes from. But don't worry, I don't have 4,500 stories to tell this morning. Well, it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm going to walk it with you. At Good Hope, we provided care and custody of young people who were sent to us by the courts or brought in by the police while they were waiting for court. Our legal responsibility was to keep them in our custody and to prevent them from committing crimes until they returned to court. They were our responsibility when they walked in our door, and our responsibility ended when they walked out that door. In the few hours or few months that they were with us, we were not charged with rehabilitating or changing our clients, just keeping them there and keeping them safe. We each are on what is hopefully one long personal journey. But during the course of that journey, we touch and connect with personal journeys of thousands of others along the way. Those then are our shared journeys, times in our lives when we touch the lives of others and they touch ours. In her memoir, Educated, Tara Westover reminds us that we, quote, "We are all of us more complicated than the roles we are assigned in the stories other people tell," unquote. With Westover's words in mind, I will tell you about a few of the journeys that I have shared with young people and adults. Each of these shared journeys have become part of my personal journey. And I know that you might have a heavy load, but I can carry some too. Now let's get back to Sidhu, as he wanted us to call him. Good Hope had a stable roster of full-time staff, many of whom stayed for years and years, but we were always looking for part-time folks. And that is how, in the late 1980s, Sidhu came to us. He started doing some childcare work for us on an on-call basis. His calm, gentle presence did not always mesh well with the often in-your-face street kids we typically had in care. But when he started to cook for us, his impact on all of us became deeper. He was really sharing his journey with us. Residents and staff learned from those shared journeys with Sidhu, and I expect that Sidhu did as well. I will lift you up when they push you down. I will raise my voice and stand my ground. Jackie was 13 when she came to us. Although she lived in Ithaca, she was being returned from South Carolina, where she and an older male companion had been caught in a stolen car. Jackie and I had a bit of a bond immediately in that we shared the same birthday. She had been held in a secure facility in South Carolina and was very relieved when she got to us and found out that we had no locked rooms and no handcuffs. She liked us, as the staff often would say. Staff would often comment that a resident liked us when they bonded with us and the program. Oddly, I think now that I never remember staff saying they don't like us when we were having trouble with a resident. Jackie liked us so much that in the following 4 years, she returned to us 7 more times, sometimes on new stolen car charges, sometimes for other reasons. Jackie held our all-time record at 8 stays. Each stay was a bit different, so we had 8 journeys with Jackie. She only stopped coming when she aged out of the system and was no longer eligible. And it looks like it might be a long night, but I ain't going nowhere. Jim and Bob were brothers, 10 and 12, when they came to us for excessive truancy. That's right, they went to court at 10 and 12 for not going to school, and then were remanded to detention. What was most memorable about their brief stay with us was their admission. Staff told me later that when they were given toothbrushes as part of their admission packet, they were incredulous. They wanted to know if they could keep them. They had never had their own toothbrushes. They had also never eaten family-style meals together, so there was a bit of socializing to do. But they were happy being with us because we gave them respect when they arrived. We gave them toothbrushes. And I know it might be a long time until the last one of us is free. Of the 4,500 kid journeys, this is one of the more troubling ones for me personally. Jeffrey came to us at 15 on truancy charges, but the case intake information had some mysteries, some missing pieces. After he arrived, he began to share a bit of his story, his journey, with staff. He was raised in a strict Christian home. His father was a part-time pastor of a small church. He had always attended Christian schools. He liked school and did well, but the school had asked him to leave, and then his parents took him to court. He was no longer welcome in their home. There was clearly something wrong here. Jeffrey was a deep thinker, a reader, and a writer, but it took him a while to begin to open up with staff. This is actually quite typical. Most new kids who came to us had never been in a place with such strict rules, procedures, and expectations. It took them a while to get settled in. One day, Jeffrey offered to share some of his writings with a staff member. It became clear right away that Jeffrey was coming to terms with his sexual identity and that he was gay. His school kicked him out because he was gay. His parents did not want him home because he was gay. He went to court because he was gay. One of the biggest misuses of the court system that I have ever seen. We found relevant books for him to read. We encouraged him to talk with staff with whom he bonded. We encouraged him to talk with his lawyer. As more people became aware of the situation, he was returned to court and placed in a foster home while social service agencies could find a more permanent living arrangement for him. Our shared journey ended there. I have no idea what happened to Jeffrey after that. I can only hope for the best. And I know it's going to be a hard fight, but I will stay right here. While we're on troubling cases, here's another. Fred was a 14-year-old from a neighboring county. He'd been arrested for stealing a pack of cigarettes. He had no prior arrests and had never been in trouble before. But for some reason, the police did not release Fred to his parents with a warning. For some reason, probation did not divert the case away from court. For some reason, the prosecuting attorney decided to bring formal charges in court. Although from a stable family, for some reason, when Fred first came to court, he was sent to us. Fred settled in well with us, had good family contacts, and was a typical kid. All of us thought that when Fred went back to court, he would most likely get to go home on probation. But that's not what happened. When Fred went to court, he was placed in state custody for 1 year. That means a facility like Finger Lakes Residential in Lansing. When he came back to us for a while until the state could arrange transportation, we were all incredulous. Fred was devastated. What made his case different from many others, we don't really know. What made the judge so hard with Fred, we don't really know. In fact, no one will ever know. But Fred is Black. I did hear that Fred's case was appealed and the appeal was successful, but it all probably happened after he'd already finished his year in state custody. I will shine a light in the darkest hour. I will face the man in the tallest tower. In 1981, I was opening a facility in Cortland and wanted to create a diverse staff team. I interviewed dozens of likely candidates, trying to find a good balance. Some potential staff had years of experience, and one had more degrees than I had. Some were easy, safe choices for me to make, and some were not. Greg was one of those who was not. Greg was an athletic young man who had grown up in Ithaca and had a human services degree from TC3. He wanted to work with teens, but he'd been turned down everywhere he applied because he didn't have any experience. In the meantime, he was working as a custodian at Cornell and had been active in the UAW organizing effort. He was a good fit for us and became an excellent staff member. After 3 years, he left us, moved to Buffalo, finished his bachelor's degree, and later earned a master's and became a middle school guidance counselor. I like that kind of shared journey. Well, it looks like it might be a perilous climb, but I will follow your lead. When the court called for a bed for Charlotte, we were full, so she went to a facility in Rochester until we had room. A week or so later, we had an opening and the sheriff's department went to get her and bring her to us. Part of our admission procedure was a strip search of each new or returning resident. We had to be able to keep everyone safe, and the search was an unpleasant but necessary way to help with safety. We rarely found anything during that search, but in Charlotte's case, we found a razor blade that had been broken out of a disposable shaver hidden in her belongings. Charlotte reportedly, we were told, had suicidal ideation and had injured herself in the past. Her arms were a maze of old scars. During Charlotte's journey with us, we all learned a lot about self-injury. She was a real test for us. When staff took residents out for a walk or out for recreation, one staff member had to stay right with Charlotte. She had a unique ability to acquire objects for future self-harm, sharp stones, small pieces of metal, pieces of broken glass. It was not, we discovered, that she wanted to kill herself or even wanted to imminently harm herself. She had a deep need to always have a ready means for self-harm at hand. She needed to have a stash that she could call upon when the situation arose. Well, we were able to keep Charlotte safe, and we all learned from that shared journey. And I know it might be a long time until the last one of us is free. Charlotte's shared journey reminded me of some training I went through in the early 1970s when I worked in residential treatment for the emotionally disturbed. One of the psychiatrists likened our work with fragile children to that of air traffic controllers. Each child is their own pilot, responsible for their journey. But sometimes on their journeys, they needed the help of air traffic controllers to keep them from crashing into the mountain. The job of the worker was to keep the child aloft, sometimes by gently bumping them up into the air until they reach a safe destination or until the work can be turned over to the next air traffic controller. That metaphor stuck with me, and I often use it with staff to help them see that during our brief shared journeys, we were not going to be able to solve whatever problems brought each child to us. But we were responsible for helping to keep them from crashing into the mountain while they were in our care. That's what we did with Charlotte. But I will hold on tight, stay by your side. I will be with you this whole damn ride. On Charlotte's second journey, she knew what to expect from us and spent far less time trying to find a way to harm herself and more time engaging with staff. But what was memorable for me about this shared journey started with a phone call from a local police officer. He had taken a call from the Arizona Highway Patrol. They wanted help in identifying a body that they had found in a ditch. Now, before she came to us, Charlotte had run away from home, and during that time had been entered into a nationwide computer system as a runaway. When she was found and brought to us, somebody forgot to cancel the missing persons report. The computer still had her listed as missing. The Arizona Highway Patrol had searched the database and thought they had a match. Same height, weight, hair color, eye color, approximate age, and even scarred arms and legs. The local police officer was relieved that I could vouch for having Charlotte in my care. The Arizona Highway Patrol was disappointed because they had to start all over to identify their body. I decided Charlotte might benefit from hearing that story, so I sat down and told her that the Arizona Highway Patrol thought that they had her there as a dead body. At first she thought I was kidding, but then it sank in. She was visibly taken aback. It could have been her in that ditch. Years later, I heard Charlotte was married, had a couple of kids, and was living in Florida. Well, it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm going to walk it with you. One more memorable journey was not significant to me at the time and only became so many years later, so I will close with this one. When Good Hope opened in 1977, we were in a leased home on Jacksonville Road. But in 1991, we bought a house in Mecklenburg and moved. I heard that the Jacksonville house had been sold to Richard and Andrea Murray. I believe she is an artist, and I know that he was an emergency room doctor at Cayuga Medical Center. Because I would sometimes have to take a resident to the ER, I got a chance to visit with Dr. Murray once in a while, and we always connected about Good Hope. He often had stories about things they found in the house or out around the grounds, or graffiti found in the strangest of places. It was always good for a laugh. Not long after I retired, now many years after I had last seen Dr. Murray, I brought my sister to the ER, and lo and behold, there was Dr. Murray. He was excited to see me because he had a new story for me. I wondered what else they possibly could have discovered about the house after owning it for almost 20 years. He told me about a young man, let's call him Derek, who came to his house to install a satellite dish. When Derek came into the kitchen, he became almost overwhelmed with emotion. Thinking that it was a physical problem, Dr. Murray told Derek that he was a doctor and asked if there was anything he could do for him. Derek told him that he was okay. When he walked into the kitchen, he realized where he was. Derek told Dr. Murray that as a 14-year-old, he had been arrested with two friends while joyriding in a stolen car. He had never been arrested before, and the reality of now being in custody hit him hard. Derek told Dr. Murray that he had decided to turn his life around right in the very spot where now, many years later, he was standing. When he came on the work call, he had no idea that the house had once been Good Hope Youth Home. When he walked into the kitchen, it hit him. Dr. Murray told me Derek is now married, has a couple of kids, and has a good job working for DirecTV. I will confess that I do not remember Derek's journey at Good Hope in the late 1980s, but I will never forget the journey that I shared with Dr. Murray in 2010 when he told me about Derek's visit to Jacksonville. It's a story I like to tell. There are so many shared journeys, over 4,000 residents and 500 staff. I've shared a few of those journeys with you this morning. My hope is that you will take some time to reflect on shared journeys in your life that have influenced the journey that you are now on. After all, journeys, like so much of life, are about connecting, inspiring, and engaging. And that's what we do here. I'm going to walk it with you. I'm going to walk it with you. I will walk, I will climb, shine the light the whole night through, because it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm going to walk it with you. So be it. Amen.
We extinguish this chalice, but not the hope, love, and courage that it represents. We carry our love and our courage out into this beautiful and broken world. Our service is now ended. Let our true service now begin. Be well and stay safe, everybody.